Suddenly, nothing seemed to make sense. Why would William Hart, who stood to gain so much from Margaret's conviction, deliver a passionate plea for mercy, protesting that she wasn't guilty? What information might he have that led him to believe in her innocence? And how did this documented dweeb transform himself into such an eloquent thirst trap?
It shook me, William's statement.
Taylor Branigan.
He had nothing to gain. In fact, the opposite. So, even though I still believe Jones did it, I felt compelled to try to find out why he thought she didn't, and just how he'd become almost literally a new man since we last spoke.
Taylor reached out to the estranged, widowed, and newly hot William Hart, and she asked if they could meet, off the record. He said he needed to think about it. 3 minutes later, his new wife Erica called back to invite her to their home, as long as she agreed not to tell anyone, to come at night, and not in uniform. Also if she agreed to bring some paper towels and orange juice, as they were running low on both.
Things started off a little strained, partially because of the oddness of the situation, but also because the OJ I had bought contained lots of pulp instead of some pulp, which apparently was a really big deal. Anyway, things got a little better once we sat down, especially for William, but Erica watched him like a hawk.
You mean from a great height?
I mean closely. I talked to him about how his public speaking was different than his conversational tone, but it turned out it wasn't. He said forsooth at least 6 times. He attributed his changes to Erica, who he clearly worshipped.
What was Erica like?
Hot and cold. She was surprisingly frank at times, and then suddenly evasive. She admitted that she and her now mother-in-law had arranged this marriage to benefit both of their positions, but that she and William had quickly fallen deeply in love. When I asked William why he thought Margaret was innocent, he'd look at Erica, and she'd answer for him, but very cryptically.
What did she say?
She said she couldn't reveal everything, but that she had overheard something after her yoga class. The studio shared a common area with a company that sold timeshares in Mexico on Mondays and Wednesdays, and pills that purported to combat memory loss and erectile dysfunction on Tuesdays and Thursdays. One afternoon, the company's manager was outside on a smoke break, which incensed Erica's yoga class as it was overpowering their incense. So Erica volunteered to speak to the woman because her yoga instructor apparently had a real temper. But as she approached the woman, she thought she overheard the woman say, Margaret Mandragora Jones, as well as the word knife, repeatedly. But then the woman saw Erica and ended the call. In fact, she threw the phone on the ground and smashed it into smithereens with the heel of her shoe. Otherwise, she seemed friendly, and the conversation was amicable and normal, except that she had asked Erica several times how much of the phone call she had heard.
Hardly proof of anything, though.
But it did sound suspicious. Yet, when I asked Erica for the name of the company, she said she couldn't trust me yet, despite the fact we had just spent like 20 minutes doing that thing where you fall backwards and people catch you.
Taylor wasn't the only one who felt things were off. The afternoon I returned to Estelle's after the sentencing, I saw Estelle talking on the phone. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but she looked overwhelmed. Then, as soon as she saw me, she looked panic-stricken and got off the phone.
Hey, Estelle. Everything okay?
Everything's fine.
Okay. I'm gonna let myself into the living room here.
I'm just gonna get myself a drink.
Okay. I'm fine. I don't know if you were offering, but I'm fine.
I'd never seen Estelle like that before. And over these past months, let's just say I'd seen Estelle most ways. So I asked her if anything had happened to upset her during her phone call.
Why would you think that?
Well, it's none of my business, but you looked upset.
Well, the truth is, I was on the phone with my life coach.
You have a life coach.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. It's just that you make it look so effortless.
I know I do, honey. But even I need a little guidance now and then.
And she or he gave you some upsetting news.
Why do you keep thinking I was upset?
Because you sounded really upset. And you kept repeating, I've got to go, in an increasingly panicked voice as I came in the house.
Oh, no, that's the life coach thing. That's the mantra we come up with for me. Because I don't know if you noticed this, but I don't always really go for it. Energetically and spiritually, you know? So that mantra is how we're working on that issue. You hungry? I made my world famous whiskey chicken.
Is that the one where you get a bucket of hot wings and drink whiskey?
Shh! It's a secret recipe.
I was highly skeptical about her mantra excuse, and I was sure she wasn't being totally honest about it being a secret recipe. But frankly, after 4 helpings of her whiskey chicken, I'd forgotten much of that evening. In fact, I only held on to this recording because later that night, Estelle and I did a kick-ass medley of Eye of the Tiger and Bohemian Rhapsody. We nailed the harmonies. But the point is, Taylor's recollection of Erica's recollection of her conversation with that woman made me recollect that recollection. Still, I was willing to chalk it up to coincidence for a few days, until I replayed Taylor's description of Erica's description of that conversation. It wasn't simply what this mysterious manager woman said or did. It was the company she was running. It sold timeshares and pills claiming to cure hearing loss and erectile dysfunction, products aimed at the elderly. And though I believe it's unprofessional to judge before all the facts are in, I let myself venture this much. It sounded possible that this company wasn't entirely legitimate. In other words, this woman was possibly grifting the elderly, which just so happens to have been the passion of Amanda and Teddy's long-lost mother, Tammy the Blade. I called Taylor and shared my insight.
Wow, that's shocking.
Right?
And no offense, shockingly insightful.
Thanks.
What was her name again?
All anyone knew her as was Tammy the Blade.
Oh my God.
Taylor was now in a bind. Mayor Lyons was forced to appoint Taylor to chief after the successful conviction of Margaret, and she'd started to instill a sense of purpose and professionalism in Shady Grove's police force. But now, she believed she could have been wrong this whole time. Yet, to admit that would instantly lose her the post and undo all the good work she was starting to do, like eliminating Chief Ebner's stand your ground policy with jaywalkers. She had to secretly reopen the case and investigate in her spare time, and she needed help. I'm in.
What? You're offering to help me?
That's what you were hinting at, right?
Well, let's put a pin in that for a moment. Though there is one thing I would like your help with.
Name it.
Send me your source on Tammy the Blade.
The next day, I emailed no longer acting interim, but actual Chief Taylor Branigan a link to a Zoom meeting with myself and Vanessa Holmes.
What can you tell me about Tammy the Blade?
Tamala D'Annunzio. We don't know a lot, but we know Robert Putnam met her in Las Vegas in late 1971, where she was working as a topless juggler by night. By day, she ran a rigged keno game for the elderly at a bar off the Strip. Robert saw her performing one night, juggling a machete, a flaming bowling pin, and a 2-month-old mountain lion cub, and was instantly smitten. After the show, he approached her as her burns were being treated and told her that despite the fresh claw marks, she was incredibly beautiful and that he was obscenely rich. She blew him off at first, but after receiving a series of romantic notes backstage from his accountant, including one with a $50,000 check, she agreed to marry him. After Teddy and Amanda were born, she realized that married life, even in a mansion, wasn't for her.
Wow.
Oh, and another juicy tidbit I dug up. Tammy may have had a lover in Shady Grove. She was seen sneaking back into Shady Grove for several years after she'd left for Arizona.
But how do we even know she's still alive? And what would her motive be for murder? Because if she did it, and I'm still siding with if, that means she murdered her own daughter.
Vanessa went on to tell us Tammy had spent 4 years in a Wyoming prison for wearing an I voted sticker when she hadn't, and a 3-year stretch in Texas for assault with a deadly weapon, namely, a knife. We signed off shortly thereafter, but all agreed to keep in touch with any new developments. When I got home, I told Estelle the latest news, although I left out the bit about Vanessa.
Wait, you think Tamala did this?
We're not sure, but we think it's worth... Wait, How did you know her full name is Tamala?
'Cause we met once, and that's how she introduced herself. I used to be a pretty good juggler back in the day, and I'd do kids' parties sometimes and whatnot. And I got a gig for Teddy and Amanda's 6th birthdays.
Oh, wow.
You sound surprised, but I have all sorts of talents. I'm a Renaissance woman.
Because you can juggle?
Ever been to a Renaissance fair? Of course you have, look at you. It's juggling out the ass.
What was Tamala like?
Charles, you need to focus when you juggle. It was a 5-minute conversation a quarter of a century ago. Tamala came over to talk because she used to juggle a bit too.
She used to juggle in Las Vegas, apparently.
Wait a minute. You got this from Vanessa Holmes.
I'm sorry, Estelle.
Don't be. I have other friends. I have another friend your age, in fact. Last week, we did an a cappella version of Africa by Toto that he said was, and I quote, fucking fire.
Oh, yeah? Odd, I've never heard of him then.
That's 'cause he lives in Canada. We Zoom. We have the most fun fucking Zooms ever. Lorne is the best.
You're upset. I'm sorry.
I'm not. Anyway, Vanessa's just looking for more drama. Jones clearly did it. It's crazy. You're accusing a woman of murdering her own daughter.
You seem kind of protective of Tamala, Estelle.
It's the juggler's code. Never trash a tosser. And more than that, I don't think it tracks. Anyway, I've got to hop on a Zoom with Lorne. He's teaching me the metric system, and I'm teaching him how to say out and about like a normal person. It's a very rewarding relationship.
I left Shady Grove the following day. But what I hadn't realized until I went back to find our Eye of the Tiger medley was that my phone kept recording for hours without my realizing it. I nearly deleted it, yet something, call it instinct, or a hunch, or intuition, or an inkling, or instinct. But something made me listen through the rest of the recording. Most of it was boring, but just when I was about to stop bothering and binge some Gilmore Girls, I heard something that chilled me to the bone. You're about to hear Estelle on the phone, while I was in the bathroom, not throwing up.
But you're not in the clear yet. Because the chief thinks you're the one who did it. Yes, the chief. What? No, I don't think that's racist in this context. Well, because it's the job title. I'm not referring to Native American. We don't have time for this. But you need to, baby. I think you have to stay where you are for now, Tamala, please.
While I definitely did not soil myself that night, on hearing those words, I very nearly did. On the one hand, a woman I'd grown quite attached to had been lying to me this whole time. On the other, I was so pumped I'd called it right with Tammy. On the third hand, I was excited I had a damning confirmation. But on the fourth, I knew I'd have to turn Estelle in, and that made me incredibly sad. On the fifth hand, however, I knew if I wanted to live up to the promise emblazoned on the Murderer Killings shirts, hoodies, and extra-large kitchen magnets available at themurdererkillings.com, I had to do what was right. And on the 6th, I felt I had just broken new true crime podcast ground, maybe. So it was a six-handed problem.
When I heard the recording, I knew I couldn't stay quiet. So I drove out to Estelle's at the crack of dawn. But she was gone. Her van was gone. Her mailbox was not only full, but it included both the March and April issues of Juggler's World magazine. She had been gone for a while. I put out an APB and called the DA's office, telling them about this new evidence.
Newberry's appeals had been previously rejected by the state's Supreme Court, and despite William Hart's increasingly vocal and oddly ornate protestations of her innocence, most of them were now delivered in sonnet form. His own mother refused to intervene as governor. The execution was set for the following week.
I tried for days to get at least a stay of execution, but no one was listening. It was almost as if they just wanted the whole thing to be over with, regardless of the truth.
For Taylor, this left her with no other choice.
I called a press conference.
But Shady Grove only has one newspaper, published bi-weekly, and its one reporter never showed up. The Murderer Killings were old news by then. So Taylor went to Plan B. She uploaded a video where she laid out the case for Margaret's innocence. To boost her video in social media algorithms, she had a puppy and baby duck napping together on a blanket in front of her. In fact, all of her accusations had to be whispered. But the tactic worked. Within a day, it had received several million views. But the DA and the governor weren't backing down. In fact, they suspended Chief Branigan immediately, and a judge issued a gag order, as well as a mandate that she post more videos of that puppy and duckling, ideally playing together.
It went against every instinct I had, but I just couldn't let a woman, no matter how lethally unpleasant, be executed for a crime she didn't commit. And well, you know the rest.
But did I? Yes.
Death row inmate Margaret Mandragora-Jones, scheduled to be executed last night, only made things worse for herself by escaping from her prison cell.
Mandragora-Jones was last seen roughly an hour before her execution.
Jones may have had an accomplice, and likely took advantage of the fact that her
Guards, for their own emotional well-being, were wearing noise-proof headphones to block out her insults.
When I heard the news, I knew exactly what had happened. Margaret had used her enormous physical strength and withering put-downs to force her way out of the prison yard. Or that's what I thought, until 5 days later, when I received an unexpected phone call from a burner phone belonging to the person whose dogged work I'd been documenting for almost a year and a half. Interim suspended Chief Taylor Branigan.
You thought that she used her strength and sarcasm?
Well, I mean, it was a hypothesis. Wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying read between the lines, Charles.
Oh my God.
Didn't you find it odd that you couldn't get a hold of me this last week?
Not really. You only pick up like 10% of the time.
Well, yeah, that's fair.
Taylor, where are you?
I can't say, Charles.
I see. Are there any landmarks or street signs nearby?
No, I know where I am, but I can't say.
Oh, right, of course. Wait, what are you gonna do?
I have to find the real killer.
And Margaret is...
If I answer that question, they can argue that's proof I helped her escape.
Wow, you've really thought this through. Taylor, what can I do to help?
Well, Charles, you can get this story out there. Tell people what's really going on.
Right. You mean like posting something on YouTube or like an ad?
No, Charles, your podcast.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean that too, obviously. I will, Taylor, absolutely will. And I won't rest until I've put the missing pieces of this mystery together.
Yeah, well, that's, let's maybe just stick to our strengths.
I will not rest.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
But before I hang up, someone wants to say a quick hello.
Surprise, buddy!
Estelle?
Well done! 3 points for Hufflepuff. Hey, don't you worry about me and Taylor. We'll fix this shit. I'm sick of my shitty pudding-stained town never doing the right thing. We're gonna put things right.
I want to help.
Oh, and that's fucking adorable, kid. And you are, in your way. It's not a very big way, obviously, but before all is said and done, we're probably gonna need the help of you and your listeners. So don't fuck it up. Besides, we've just given you the perfect cliffhanger for season 2.
That means a lot to me that you do that.
Yeah, that's not why we did it, for fuck's sake. But I gotta admit, I'm happy if it helps.
So, somehow Taylor and Estelle, whether by design or accident, were now teaming up, presumably with Margaret in tow. But what about Tammy the Blade? Did Estelle break things off with her in order to do the right thing? Or was Tammy the Blade not guilty after all? So many unanswered questions, and so much fallout. Governor Hart vowed to only rest sporadically until they track Margaret and Taylor down, while Mayor Lyons and the city council are coming to grips with how their small town will move forward.
I think the best way to honor Amanda and the other two's memory is to keep their tragedy fresh in our hearts and minds. And that's why I think our sponsored walking tours of the crime scene is going to be healing and lucrative, which in turn will lead to more healing. We're calling it Welcome to Shady Grove, because graves are where murdered people end up. And it's also only one letter off from Grove, so it works on a few levels.
You and Teddy are also charging for coach tours of the areas where Walter Putnam murdered sex workers. Aren't you, in essence, trying to brand Shady Grove as some sort of ghoulish tourist haven cashing in on tawdry murders?
Even more than that. We've also got a petting zoo for the kids at Amanda's house, featuring Amanda's actual dogs. So that's neat, I think. The whole endeavor is a loving tribute from a brother and a community that will forever feel the absence of Amanda and the income stream she brought to this town. I truly believe it's what Amanda would have wanted us to do.
Personally, I think that Amanda Putnam Hart, Chip Bing, and Michelle Quincy would have wanted, and indeed deserve, justice for their murders. Taylor certainly doesn't deserve to be a fugitive, and Vanessa Holmes has put out a personal plea for the true murderer to come forward before her publishing deadline in August. So far, no luck. At the beginning of this podcast series, I asked if justice can even exist in a place like Shady Grove. I think it can, but it takes the integrity and grit of people like Estelle Hayes, Taylor Branigan, and in fairness, me, to make that happen. But we can't do it alone. This puzzle still has missing pieces. Perhaps with your help, we can find peace together in piecing together the masterpiece of misplaced missing pieces. I truly believe we're closer than ever to solving the tragedy that is the murderer killings. And the sooner we do, the quicker and easier it'll be to produce the next season. I'm Charles Incarica, and this has never stopped being The Murderer Killings.
Doing the chicka chicka.
Boom, 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 boom,
Took my time, took my chances. Just get out, and take it better. Let me keep them alive. Eye of the tiger is the cream of the crop. It's enough to challenge our rivals. And when all the stones are be the champions of all, but it's only the honor. I see the silhouette to other man. Scaramouche, Scaramouche, can you do the fandango? Something bolts of lightning, very frightening. Got it, you go. Got it, Galileo. Galileo, figaro, magnifico. No, mamma mia, let me go. We are the bomb, and the devil put aside for me. So you think you can stop me and spit in my eye? So you think you can love me and leave me to bow. Oh yeah, oh baby, can't do this to me, baby. Don't get out. Bow. Boom. That was really good. I think the first one was better. We could probably cut them together.